I was thinking about it. I'm an introvert. Like I'm a painfully and always have been a painfully sort of interior person.
You can change that as much as you want. If you packed everything up, like cut the internet off and moved to a new town, like who would you be there? If you wake up every day, you have a capacity to be great.
Ask you something. Is the next 30 seconds guaranteed?
Yeah, never.
Never.
You have to answer every day when you go to bed. Were you a good person? Were you kind? Did you care about others? Or were you selfish and only thought about what you wanted?
Continuing to ask questions in like a kind or positive way.
If I can create a spot where people can come together.
Stay off the internet, stop researching, because all you're going to do is get in your head.
I did what everybody does when they're about to die. I started praying.
This might be my last fork in the road.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Exactly. Welcome to our journey,
where open dialogue and curiosity are the only requirements.
whether it be serious or lighthearted,
Music, heroing stories,
aliens,
or politics or comedic debauchery.
We attempt to peel the layers back and connect together in a way that's genuine and honest.
Without any script or idea what the hell is going to happen.
this is organic, curious, human interaction.
We thank you for joining us and ask, if you enjoy the show, please do all the things that social media requires for its more ridiculous algorithms.
The like button, follow, subscribe, comment, and review.
And although we may have a disdain for algorithms, it's how the internets work.
But if you have as much disdain for them as we do, you can visit the website, chroniccuriosity.com. The link is in the description. You can find all of our stuff there.
And the store, Tony, which you can pick yourself up some fantastically curious merchandise.
Welcome to Chronic Curiosity.
And here we go.
That car for sure. Like you're not
like the old Vipers.
It makes you think you're a good driver, but don't let it fool you. Like that car's doing everything for you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, you want to introduce Craig?
Yeah, Craig Nolletti. Man, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know you guys have a lot of history, and it's been a few years since I've seen you. Like I said, I think before we started, but it's been at least since before you started lifting like a monster. Like you got to be at least 50 pounds heavier.
Probably.
I think.
Yeah, probably.
What? Because you run just CrossFit 419 now. Is that your only project you got going on?
Yeah. So I have the CrossFit gym.
A little closer.
I've got the CrossFit gym and then the warehouse. It's all in one building.
Okay.
So it's a 24-hour gym next to the CrossFit, and it works pretty good for me. I've got some other things lined up coming. I don't want to say too much at this point, but I like the 24-hour gym that I have. So,
Bro, you run for governor?
No.
You got my vote.
I'm not.
The beard alone.
Yeah. I can't involve myself in all that.
Smart man.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, the 24-hour gym has really grown, since the whole shutdown thing. It's grown substantially. So I'm like, something to this. Just you got to have a big space and good equipment, people like that. So
I constantly see your posts, and dude, you're just adding like all kinds of crazy equipment. Like every week there's something new.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm always looking for stuff. I just like gym equipment. I mean, that's it. I collect it. Like literally that's what I like to do. So, no, it's cool I just love to see people in the gym enjoying like their workout, regardless of how they train. I just think it's cool to provide a place they're happy to do that, comfortable doing that. So that's just my passion,
Yeah, so you talked about the lockdown. I know you were pretty vocal during that, but I think for good reasons. Yeah. But how did that whole thing work out? And it seemed like there were some things going on behind the scenes that.
Yeah. Well, I guess my whole point was, I believe we're free in America. That's how I was raised and taught. I guess that's how I understood it. That other people cannot take stuff from you or dictate what you do. So my whole focus, I guess at first, I didn't really pay much attention to the virus because I was like, whether it's super deadly or not, I don't want my freedoms taken away. That should be between me and everybody else in my community if I want to run my business. So when they forced us to close, I was against it completely, and I was outspoken about it. And it really hurt my business because of that, because people that didn't agree with me for whatever reason, they didn't like that. So it kind of chased them off. So I'm not quite as vocal anymore, just because I'm like, it's not worth it, But yeah, pretty frustrated with the whole situation. I just didn't agree with it, I believe in being free. I don't believe in just I don't want someone I don't know dictating how I live.
Right.
So that was my big thing. I wasn't disputing if the virus is real or not, because I guess in my mind it was two separate things. I was like, I don't care if it kills every other person. If I still want to live my life how I want to live it, that should be my choice.
Right.
So I guess that's what it boiled down to.
Sure, you don't want to run for governor. I like what you're saying.
If you're allowed to drive a car that has way too much power for the wheels, you should be able to go to the gym. Right?
Exactly.
Especially when that was what killed me about the whole thing. It was like, well, isn't the healthier you are typically the better you're equipped to be healthy? But it's.
Oh no, they're following the science though.
Right. Well, no, they start saying that now. Now it's you should exercise. Finally.
Yeah.
But you can get free. Never mind. We won't get into that.
Bro, we can get into it. I want to hear Craig unleash.
Yeah. It just kills me. Every single week it seems like there's something unhealthy that you can get for free once you get the vaccine. Like, this is so counterintuitive. I can get donuts and free beer and like all this stuff. Like, okay. I don't get it.
Yeah, none of it's made sense to me, but the thing is now I don't really I love Ashland, city of Ashland. They've got the mayor is great. The commissioners are great. If the whole state could be like Ashland, we'd be in really good shape. So I don't complain about them. I really like everyone, the administration there. And the thing is, like, we reopened back in a year ago, May, June, somewhere in there. And, they haven't said a word, haven't messed with us at all, because I don't have a mask thing on my door. I don't tell anyone to wear a mask. I'm not your boss. You're a grown adult. So I never enforced any of that mess. And they never mess with me about it, because it was like, I think they understand, like, people want to live how they want to live. We're not going to come and dictate. And I don't think they wanted to really start a fight with my gym, because we have a pretty good following in town. A lot of people like us and support us. So since that time, they haven't messed with us. So, like, despite my ongoing feelings about certain things that are still going on, I don't say a lot, because it's like, they're not, no one's messing with me. I can live how I want, so, we pulled our kids out of school 2 months ago because I was like, this mask thing has gone too long, and we just said it's enough. So, the kids didn't want to wear them, and I wasn't going to send them all day to wear a mask if I don't wear one. So, yeah, so that's our opinion, I guess.
Is Jessie homeschooling?
Yeah.
Is Jessie homeschooling?
Yeah, and she had some experience doing that before. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Do they like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's got a homeschool group that she, like, associates with. They go on field trips, like, once a week. They'll go do stuff together with other kids, and so she's got a pretty good support group there.
Do they drive by the school and not wear masks and laugh at the kids?
Yeah, just pretty much. Well, my son always stands out and watches the bus go by, 'cause
you poor masked bastards.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen a lot of people recently, like, saying, like, you know what? I used to think people that, like, did the homeschooling thing were, like, these weird outcasts, like, these weirdos and everything. They're like, not looking like such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, everything's coming full circle, man.
Yeah.
Even the preppers are getting accepted.
Yeah, even the
more.
preppers are now like, wow, you know what?
Or everyone that had guns
Yeah.
hidden in various parts of their house or collecting ammunition, they're like, oh, shit.
They have guns and meals and toilet paper for a year. Maybe I should be their friend. I think everyone's got toilet paper for a year now.
Yeah, right.
So I know you talked about, the fitness aspect, and I think one of the big things that I saw when, at least that I got from some of the things that I heard you saying during the whole lockdown and things, like, it's more than just hey, I want to go to the gym and exercise, because for a lot of people, I've known a lot of myself, it's, the gym can be somebody's kind of regulating tool, for, whether it be a hard past or, even PTSD and different things where it's something people can go and it's at the kind of like their safe place and it's their normalization
It's their
tool.
iron therapy, baby.
Yeah. You know, and I saw a lot of that, you know, at least that's kind of the feelings I got from, you know, the things you were saying. I guess, like, what do you think, like, got you to the position you're at now? Like, how did you get interested in, like, running a gym and doing all those things? And, like, like, what brought you to it?
I mean, I remember pretty specifically, I was like 13 or 14, you know, looking in the mirror, I'm like, no. Like, I was like, dude, if I'm watching, you know, you watch a Fast and the Furious, you're like, that's what I want to look like back then, whatever,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not what I look like, so I got to change this. Literally just clicked, and I was like, all right, well, I think I have to exercise, lift some weights, you know, and I haven't stopped. Like, literally, I think switch flipped, and I've done lots of different stuff in the fitness world. You know, I used to be a runner. I used to run all the time. So I've done like a little bit of everything, but just nothing, you know. So I've always loved the idea of being able to change your body by manipulating nutrition and your training. You know, I've always thought that was amazing because your body's the only thing you have in this world. You know, everything else can be taken from you. Until you're dead, your body's all you got. So you should make it what you want to make out of it. I'm not, you know, not everyone wants to have muscles and make your body big and strong, I guess, but that's up to you. Right. And so I've always thought it was pretty cool to be able to, like, you know, it's really cool in the gym. Just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean they can do certain things. You know, you might look in shape, but maybe you can't run 10 miles.
Believe me.
But yeah, maybe you're huge and muscular, but you know, you can't do certain things in the gym. So I've always been like, man, that's really cool what the body can do and what it's capable of and how it adapts to things you do to it. I've always thought it was really a cool thing. And even to this day, if someone's like, yeah, I got a gym in the basement, I'm like, well, let me see what you got. Like, I have to, like, there's something about gym equipment that's always just made my heart race. And I don't care what your gym is, or it could be a hotel gym. I'm still like, dude, this is cool. There's something about that, being able to challenge your body physically, that I've always loved. I've always loved that. So it was always my intention, even from like that age. I was like, dude, someday I have to have a gym. And I had all this like home gym equipment at my parents' house in the basement, and like kept taking up more of the basement with more and more stuff. So I had my own gym for a really long time. So I just loved being there, you know, even during the shutdown, the whole thing. I was like, I would leave in the morning and Jesse's like, what are you doing? I'm like, going to the gym. Like, no one's going to be there, but that's where I want to go, you know? So it was just it was just always been like that. Yeah, so just went to school for criminal justice, but because no one ever told me, hey, you should run a gym, you should be a trainer. So I kind of followed this other path, but knowing, I was like, this isn't what I really want to do. And it took me, I don't know, I was like 30 years old, I think 29, 30 when I opened the first gym. And it took me that long out of high school to figure out, like, wait, I don't really like to work for people. I want to go do something different. And it's been great since. Yeah. Just being able to wake up and go do what you like to do. It's really important. So.
Yeah. Well, it seems it's been a giant snowball for you, at least since I met you years ago.
Yeah.
Doing it. I think it's one of those few things too, where a gym, there's obviously some other things, but like, owning a place like that where people come to, you know, change their bodies or get fit or do whatever, you know, you have a huge impact on the community around you. And, you know, it's interesting to see like what that's done and like how it's changed people, and, you know, see people like go on those journeys. And, you know, I know we've met multiple people where it's like they start doing this fitness thing or whatever, and you see them years later, it's like they've transformed. And it's like, man, I've never been happier. Like, I just enjoy doing what I'm doing. And there's something about physically changing your body, however you want to, like, that gives you something special. Yeah,
I think I always equate being in the gym with like the business world, because I didn't really know it at the time, but like when you go into the gym, if you're really challenging yourself and you're not just going in there to just say you work out, if you're really going in there and pushing your body physically and mentally, and you're doing that on a daily, weekly basis for months and years at a time, you walk out of the gym every day and you've successfully completed whatever you were there to accomplish. And so subconsciously, I think like it builds in it builds your mind up, your mental strength to the point where it's like you can't fail. So you stop thinking about failure because you're like, look, physically, mentally, I can achieve these workouts every day. You're succeeding every single day. And so then when it comes to business, you know, I credit all the time I put in the gym with having a successful business, because you go into the business world, you're like, well, yeah, it's going to be tough, but I'm not going to fail. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to win just like I do every time I go to the gym. And so I think there's so many people, kids, you know, adults even, that could benefit from the confidence that a gym will build in you. The idea that you can succeed and push yourself and accomplish things. It just builds up that mental toughness, that confidence. Because I distinctly remember during that time when I first started working out, when I was living at home, when I was a freshman or 8th grade or whatever, I relied on like everyone else's approval. That's how I gained my confidence. I had to get certain jeans. I remember that. You know, you had to have all this certain stuff, right, to fit in.
Right. And in 5 years, it wasn't cool anymore.
And that'll kill you, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember then by the time I graduated high school, I was like, I'd shaved my head. I was like, I don't care what you think, because I was focused on the gym. And that's where my confidence and self-esteem came from. And I think that's an awesome transition, because I see all these kids that are depressed and upset and they don't fit in with their school. It's like, go to the gym. Just because then you're going to start to, you have your own way to build your self-esteem and self-confidence. You're not relying on all those other kids that you're not even going to know them in 10 years, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's obviously, I mean, I put my whole life into the gym, but yeah, the benefits of it are, everyone's there for a different reason, but tremendous benefit, I think.
Yeah, well, I think there's something to be said. Like you said, it's something that it's obtaining that goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you realize from, if you actually, like you said, go in and you're actually doing something, you go in day one and then you look back a month later, 6 months later, a year later, 5 years later, you go, oh, wow. Like,
yeah,
look how far I've come, you know, as long as you're actually doing something, not just standing by the water fountain.
Yeah. And you see the changes in your body and you're like, wait, this is way more beneficial. This is way more important to me than other people's opinion. Because I just remember that was kind of hard on me when I was younger, like trying to fit in. It was awful, you know. I think every kid endures that in school, and so that's half the reason I was like, you know what, kids, if you don't want to go to school, that's fine. Like, you know, because like that sucked. I hated school with a passion.
Kids are jerks.
Yeah, hated it. I'm sure I wasn't the nicest guy in school either, but it was an awful place. I just didn't like it, didn't care for it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. What is, talk about push, like, is that, so when I met you, like I said, right in the beginning, like you were not nearly as big as you are now, and you've gone towards the powerlifting kind of thing. Was that just kind of something, a new thing? You're just like, I did the CrossFit thing, I did the running thing. Like,
yeah.
I just wanted...
My whole story, it's a strange thing how everything has happened. When I was lifting in high school, just like bodybuilding, whatever workout I could find online, that's what I would do. And then went to AU and ran into a powerlifting team. Well, I was lifting at the time at AU. I thought I was a pretty studly guy when I graduated, right? And so freshman year at AU, I'm like, let's check this gym out. Well, at the time at AU, the rec center was the same as the actual, like, athletes where they lifted. It was all in one.
Oh, okay.
And I'm out there, and the women out there are like lifting twice as much as I can. And I'm like, well, it took me a couple weeks to find out, but it was Judd Logan's, it was his track team, his throwers.
Oh, yeah.
The men and women. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
you know, and they're just monsters. And so I would just kind of sit and watch like what they were doing, because I'm like, whatever it does works. I even followed them to Convo to watch what they ate, because I was like, these people are monsters. And so then I found the powerlifting team over there at AU. They had a powerlifting group, and started with them, and really loved it. I loved the powerlifting. As soon as I graduated, started, you know, going to the local gyms and stuff, and they didn't have much of a powerlifting following, so I went back to like bodybuilding stuff. And then just kind of lifted on and off, well, I never stopped lifting, but the intensity at which I would lift was different. You know, I would deadlift for a few years and then quit and whatever. And then started building equipment, like metal fabricating. I had a welder at home and cut up some steel, make some pushing sleds and stuff. And then some people from CrossFit Independence. And I was, at the time, I'm like, CrossFit, that's what kind of stupid workout is that? Like it sound dumb. Like, you know, I didn't want to do that. I was a lifter. So I agreed to deliver some pushing sleds to these coaches at CrossFit Independence. And I drove up there and walked in. The gym had the owner there and a coach. That was it. But like the energy there was crazy. Like I could feel something. I'm like, dude, this is not a normal gym. It was weird. So I'm like, what is this? Like, what is CrossFit? Like, cause there's no lifting equipment. It's just, you know, some pull up rig and some bars. And they're like, well, come back and see. So I went up the next day, got annihilated in my first ever
Right.
CrossFit workout, crushed. I remember going to sit in my car. Before I even left, I texted my wife. I said, like, this is nuts. You got to come up and try this. So I think it was like 2 days later, we both drove up there in Independence. And from that point forward, like I signed up for my CrossFit Level 1 certification. I was like, I got to do this. Like, this is wild. There's nothing like it around. And there's a crazy amount of things that happened between them. But then I ended up like selling because I had like a gym out in the barn. I still do, but I sold all that equipment to buy my CrossFit stuff. And it was easily the most unequipped gym in Worcester at the time when I opened, you know, but that's all I could afford. So it was what it was. So did the CrossFit. It doesn't cost a whole lot to start with the CrossFit stuff. Pretty inexpensive. So started that, built that up, opened my other CrossFit gym in Ashland and quit my job at the time. Like a year and a half. It was a year and a half after I opened Worcester, opened the Ashland gym. Quit my job. That's a long story, how that all worked out. And then ran my CrossFit gym in Ashland for a while, and I had a 24-hour access system I put on the door because the members thought, you know, if they can't make a class, it'd be cool if they could still come in and work out. One day, and the guy's still a member at my gym, I'll never forget, he come walking in, he's like, I don't want to do CrossFit. I just want to use like your bench and your dumbbells. I'm like, okay. Because I had all this extra space in this warehouse. So from that day, I was like, yeah, man, just give me $25 a month. I'll give you a key card to come in. And from there, it like clicked the light bulb on. Like, wait, I always wanted to have a 24-hour gym. So started just buying equipment, you know, haven't stopped. You know, we built the building over there and all that. And so I guess because I still own CrossFit 419, it's a great gym. I will always say CrossFit is such a beneficial thing for like most of the population that doesn't have the time or the desire to look up their own workout programming, how to do stuff, because working out's complex. It's not as easy as a lot of people think. And so if you're the type of person that like, look, I don't necessarily want to pay $400 a month for personal training, but my 24-hour access card doesn't really get me far. CrossFit's kind of right in the middle. You show up, coach is there to take you through a workout. You're going to get a great workout in an hour. Yeah. And so I will always say CrossFit is fantastic. Like, it's good for the majority of people. But I love the 24-hour gym. I like the variety of equipment. I love the idea of constantly being able to upgrade and change things. You know, CrossFit, not much has changed because they don't use a lot of equipment. And I don't know, I've always been attracted to the bodybuilding, powerlifting style of training. So I guess that's why I like started CrossFit and now kind of venturing back into the 24-hour world. But that's how I've always been. Like, I've never just been like stagnant in business. I've always wanted to be doing something. So the last year was pretty hard because it was like, well, how long am I going to be allowed to be open now? So it was like I couldn't get too excited about changing things or upgrading. So just now in the last few months, finally, things have been happening business wise for me, and do have some really cool stuff coming up. I don't want to say too much right now, but good things are coming. So
keep your eyes open.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good.
That's all. I know. What was it? Last weekend you had a special guest at your gym. What was that all about?
Blystone, Joe Blystone. I don't know. The current governor we have, like, obviously I'm not real impressed, because he changed. The thing is, in 2019, all my gyms, because at the time I had 3 gyms, they were all the most successful they'd ever been. At the end of for 2019. Well, 2020 hit. I had 3 good months, and then boom, you can't operate your business. That hurts a gym pretty bad. Because the thing is, and I'm sure he doesn't even understand this, like with a gym, you have memberships. You can't just like flip the open sign. It takes a while to build up a certain amount of members at your gym. And when you can't operate, they quit, right? Like, and I'm grateful. We had a tremendous amount stick around. They were loyal and stuck around and still with us. But we also had a chunk that quit, and I don't blame them. I mean, why would you pay for something that you can't use, right? No fault of mine, not their fault. And so it put a pretty big hit on my CrossFit gyms. And, so obviously I'm not happy. It's a long story, but I'm not happy with the governor. Like, I'm like, dude, that was ridiculous. Like, it didn't make any sense. I don't think it saved any lives. Maybe it did. I don't know. So no, this Joe Blystone guy that showed up, I read a little bit about him, and a guy at my gym in Ashland knows him pretty well. I was like, you want to bring him in here? He can do a talk in Ashland, whatever. I'll support him, So he came in last week. And I don't know. I like all the stuff he has to say. But I don't know. I don't know. I want someone a little more charismatic, more leader-ish to rally people.
You're not saying DeWine's not charismatic.
Well, yeah, I guess it worked for him. But
all 5'2" of them.
Yeah. So I guess my whole point, the main issue that I think happened is, he's not from around here. Fin Feather Fur is right down the road from my gym, right?
Right.
Well, he went down there to try to go shop there, and they wouldn't let him in without a mask on. And they told him he couldn't shop without a mask on. And he did not like that. I'm like, dude. So he said at the speech thing, he's like, you should go down and protest in front of the store. And I'm like, no, like the Fin is not the problem. Right. It's the government. Right. Like, it's the governor.
They're just trying to keep their doors
open.
Just
trying. Yeah, they don't know what's going on. They're not hiring attorneys. They're just trying to sell their products and move on. So I was kind of disappointed in that, because I worked at the Fin. I know the guy that owns it. I know a lot of people that rely on the Fin to make their living. I'm like, don't tell people to go protest in front of the Fin. Like, you're not going to gain any supporters by saying that.
Right.
Stay positive. If you want to go after anybody, go after the current governor, not the Fin.
Right.
So I guess I was just kind of confused by that. And I was like, man, it's not, not the right thing, certain things to say, I guess, if you're campaigning for governor.
Yeah. Because, like you said, it's not the business's fault. Most of them now, and I understand the aspect behind it. Like, hey, you got to, stand up. And you guys, I get it. But these businesses, they're just trying to feed their families too. Yeah. So it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point there are some things that can happen. They go, okay, no, we can't take. Everyone gets pushed to a certain limit, but it's tough. It's a tricky spot to be in.
Yeah. So I guess if he's the other option, I'm voting for him. But if someone else comes along, and I'll definitely listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing too. Is a lot of people are just voting on whether it be party lines or whatever. Like, it's like, man, you got to listen to what these people are saying. And for the most part, we've talked about it a bunch, where it's like, the sad thing is, where you find a lot in politics, it's like most politicians that are in there, like, I don't have any business being in there. But the people that should be in there, they're smart enough to go, well, I'm not going to do that. Why? That's a thankless job. Why would I do it? Because no matter what, half of the population's probably going to hate you.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. The government, it's unfortunate, but like, you know, yeah, I don't want to be negative, but it's like they don't help with anything, like business wise. I mean, they just make it difficult, you know, because I built that building in Ashland and I had to literally beg Richland County's building department to come and like approve us to open. So it sat there for 2 weeks, done, but they wouldn't come and inspect it so we could use it. And I'm like, you know, so it's like, why? Only thing you've ever done is take money from me.
Andrew, going to make more money off of you.
Everything else has had a negative impact. Every interaction I've ever had. So when it comes to, now I'm supposed to close my business.
Oh,
right. Okay. Sure. That makes perfect sense. You guys have always helped me out so immensely. So.
How many days was the gym actually closed?
70.
That's quite a bit.
Now with it was funny. My 24-hour gym in Ashland, I didn't close it. I was like, I'm leaving the door open if you want to swipe in and work out. So like a week later, after the shutdown, the mayor in Ashland called me. He's like, Craig, we've got all, and at the time, everyone was still freaked out, like, oh, we're all going to die.
Right.
So he called me. He's like, Craig, we've got like 1 million complaints on your gym still being open. And I'm like, all right, yeah. And I was like, I'll close it today. And so I closed it then. I never did stop letting people in. Like I put a key outside, like a literal key. I was like, dude, like I'm not doing this. And then at the end of April, Trump rolled out his like 3-stage opening plan, and like gyms were in the first stage. And then DeWine's like, oh yeah, we're going to reopen stuff here on May 1st. And I'm like, oh, sweet. You know, Trump said the gyms are first phase. No, didn't even mention them. And I was like, okay, forget this. This dude's off his rocker. And so I reopened just and posted it and like told the mayor, I'm like, I'm open, dude. We're open again. And had people coming from Cleveland, Columbus, like, because we were open, you know, and it was an awesome week. By the end of the week, though, you know, the health department got a hold of me. They're like, oh, you got to close your gym. I'm like, no, I'm not closing my gym. It is what it is. Like, if you're going to pay my mortgage, my loan, go ahead. But otherwise, I'm staying open. And they had no idea what to do. Because I would tell, because they showed up with like a written notice. They showed up, they called me. Then they showed up in person. And I was always respectful because I was like, hi, you're just trying to do your job. You know, even I wouldn't have done it, but you're trying to do your job. And I was like, I'm not closing. What's next? Like, let's just get it out in the open. There's no secrets here. And they're like, we're not sure. So then they
got him.
Yeah. So then they brought me. No, they had Ashland PD bring me an official letter that said I have to close my business immediately. Blah blah blah, or else I'm in violation of this Ohio Revised Code. And you know, at the time, then the mayor as a whole, he's messaging me, calling me and stuff like, man, I get where you're coming from. I don't want to see you have to go to court and have a misdemeanor on your record. And I was like, I don't care.
Love it.
I don't care. Like, it's a misdemeanor, you know. And the thing I didn't want to do, I didn't want to go to jail. But I was like, they're not going to send me to jail for this. Well, somehow during that whole conversation, because I had like so many days to close. And I was like, I'm not closing. And, you know, people are coming to the gym, loving it, whatever. And then somehow the mayor got a hold of Larry Obhoff, which is like the Senate speaker, or was at the time. And they put me on the he's like, if you agree to close your gym, we'll put you on the governor's gym reopening committee. And the mayor, you know, he's like, look, Craig, you had your moment of glory, but he's like, this is an easy way out for you to get actually on the reopening committee. And then you're not in any jeopardy going to court or anything like that. And so it was a tough decision. But I did decide, I was like, all right, I'll close and do this, try this out, right? Well, imagine being on a phone call with 35 people.
Yeah, I've been on those. It's impossible.
It's nuts. So you have to announce your name, where you're from, blah, blah, blah. And so I was basically on there. I only would chime in when someone would bring up some crazy thing. Because one of the first conversations they had on the phone was changing out your air circulation systems and putting some type of filter. And I was like, no, like some gyms don't even have any HVAC system. And I was like, no other business that's reopened so far has had to do that. Why are you talking about it? And so I was basically like trying to just shoot down all these crazy ideas they had. And then we reopened. We had like 3 phone calls like that, and then we reopened like 10 days later. And then since then, you know, I've just been growing the gym again and doing my thing. But I was pretty upset because it put a pretty big hit on the business. And I wasn't in very good mental space, I guess, all last year. I was just mad. Just the anger was, you know, I was just disappointed that more people went along with it, I think was the main thing. I mean, I had plenty of supporters at the gym, but I was just angry. And I didn't really do anything with the business because I was like, well, if the government's going to come in and just wreck stuff, how hard do I want to, how many times am I going to rebuild the anthill? You know?
Yeah.
And so now at this point is like, I got to snap out of it finally and just get back to like, all right, whatever. I don't think it'll happen again. I won't do it again, participate again, but finally got my head back a little bit. Like, let's get back to life. So yeah, last year sucked, but.
Do you think you have more gym members now because of this stand that you took compared to the few that you lost?
He's like, ooh, I lost one.
Because
Like,
I remember thinking, like, we talked about, we're like, Craig's so badass. Like, if Ashlyn wasn't so far away. Because we were, you know, if Rogue hadn't had their rack and a few dumbbells and a bar, like, I'd have lost my goddamn mind.
Oh, I got skinny fat.
Yeah. So I just remember thinking, like, oh, if we didn't have that, like, Ashland is an option. Do you think you gained more people because of that?
Probably in Ashland. Worcester, Worcester has been a weird thing because, you know, Worcester was the first gym I had. I put everything I had into it. Coach morning, coach night, coach it all. Did everything there. Ashland opened, grew super fast. 24-hour gym grew, built a new building. Like, it was just crazy the amount of growth we experienced over there. The Worcester people, I don't think they didn't know me anymore. And so I think I hurt that gym because of things I was saying and doing. And I think more people there didn't agree with me. And I don't hold any of them. You know, you have your own beliefs, but I think part of it was they didn't truly know me either. You know, they weren't around me. They didn't talk to me as much. So I definitely hurt that gym. I mean, I'll admit that, you know. But no, I think in Ashland, I don't know. The gym has grown up substantially past, CrossFit hasn't, but the 24-hour gym has grown way past what we ever were. So I don't know. I really am not sure why, but I haven't really had many people say anything negative about that whole experience, but I'm sure they also aren't going to reach out to me and be like, hey, you're an idiot. Like, you should go to your gym. Yeah. I just didn't have that, you know? Yeah. So, but it took, some of my coaches actually contacted me like, Craig, you got to shut up. And I was like, all right. I couldn't disagree, but it's just so hard because I was like, I had no other outlet. And not that that's an effective way to do anything online, obviously, but I don't know. You know, until you build your own business from nothing and you take these risks, like you can't judge somebody how they react to being told they can't operate.
Right.
It's like, you can't do that,
yeah,
you know?
I think that's a huge piece. If nothing else, you know, in the last year and a half or whatever it is now that we've seen, I guess it's just been about a year, is, you know, there's been so much on both ends of the spectrum, regardless of what it is, that I think it's kind of pushed at least some people to at least attempt to find their own truths and go, okay, like, why are these people freaking out? Why are these people freaking out? Like, and then I know at least it has for me. I know some people just jump on the bandwagon or believe whatever channel they're watching or, you know, whatever feed they see. But I know I've known a lot of people that have gone, okay, like, people are freaking out. What's the deal? And at least looking into it and, you know, making your own stance on it and trying to figure out, like, all right, well, what's really going on here? Because I think that was a biggest part of, like, in the beginning was fear. You know, there were people that, you know, maybe they don't believe in, you know, obviously COVID's a thing, but like maybe it's not as, like you said, deadly as we thought. Or maybe it's a little different than what we were led to believe, or maybe it's just we're a little more afraid of it than what we should be because of this, that, whatever. You know, I think there's something to that where business owners like yourself, especially like you said, like, man, you build something from the ground up, and then all of a sudden it's just like, hey, stop. You got to shut it down. Like, what?
Right.
Like, it's, I can't imagine that, you know?
Well, because as a business owner, I don't know. I don't have a degree in business or anything like that. But like, when you first open a business, you're in survival mode. You do whatever you got to do to keep from dying, failing. And I don't think that feeling ever leaves you. If you're a sensible business owner, you're always like, dude, I don't want to fail. I don't want this business to collapse, because you invested so much in it. And so, you know, even though business is stable, it's not like I'm concerned with failing anytime soon. Just that survival mode. It's like taking food from you, you know, it's like, oh, good luck. We'll see what happens. And there was no communication. You know, because what they say, 2 weeks, and then there was nothing like, hey, we're sorry, we screwed up. It's going to be, and there was like, no, you're just closed still. So horrible leadership, you know, and I can't, as a man, I can't imagine being a governor and saying, oh, you guys can't operate. I don't know how you're going to get money. I'm going to get my paycheck still.
Yeah.
A real man would have said, I'm not getting paid either. Regardless, millionaire, however many million he's got, it's the principle. Cut your pay. What kind of man says, oh no, these hundreds of business got to close, I must still get my paycheck? That's not a man.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that didn't sit well with a lot of people is like, well, all the people telling you can't earn.
Send me your money.
You can't even earn a paycheck. You're not allowed to earn a paycheck.
Do you hear that, Mike DeWine? You are not a man.
No. He knows. He knows that.
His wife tells him that all the time. Probably.
He knows. He knows.
No. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things. It's when you can't, like, not allowing people to earn a wage, not allowing people to go to work, not allowing people to do something. It's, yeah.
Well, imagine the restaurants.
Yeah.
That have food. Because they weren't even allowed to operate at first, right? Like,
yeah, they were just shut down. Boom, done.
Okay,
so they were throwing food out left and right.
Didn't even give them 3 or 4 days to sell it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. How many lives did that save? Yeah. Crazy.
It's pretty crazy. And then, I mean, not only that, but like now it's like every single place like the other day I was out, almost every single place I go to has a sign on the door. Help wanted. Will be closed from now and you know, until otherwise. We'll be closing at 8:00 because lack of, you know, employees. It's like, and then you look online. It's, well, if companies would pay more. Well, no, you mean pay more than the government's just giving you for free? Like,
they're quickly going to socialism, you know.
Yeah, and I understand the idea behind universal basing, you know, something like for different areas, and but man, like, guess what? 16-year-olds don't deserve to make $25 an hour. No. Sorry, that's not.
Yeah, because you know, when I was in high school, like a lot of kids worked. And that was the job. You were a waiter or waitress, or you worked at a job for minimum wage. I had plenty of them, and I loved it. I was making money for the first time, right? I didn't expect to make a ton of money. I was just getting experience and doing what I was qualified to do. You get paid based on how much value you bring to society. Yeah, right? That's how your pay is based. And I always believe that. Like, the more value you bring, the more money you make. I don't know. I see how capitalism works, I think, from a business perspective. And quite honestly, if the government didn't tax you so much, you could pay everybody more money. But I'm paying, my accountant's paying taxes for me. I don't even know what they are. I don't know where they're going. It's just, this tax, this tax.
Yeah, it's crazy. I always thought it was a neat idea too, where like if you could see, like when they take the taxes out, be like, this percentage goes to this, and this percentage goes to this, and this percent. Like,
That'd be
show me
horrifying.
that stuff because how much of it just gets thrown away. We were talking about that the other day, where it was like all of the money that goes to, like out in California. They had like, was it last year? I think they spent over like $500 million on the homelessness, and they have more homeless people than they've ever had. Like, it's like whose pockets is that lining? Like, it's crazy. Like, where's all this money going?
Yeah, and I think the bad part is now and I'm no politician or economist or anything, right? I know how to work.
I thought you said he was running for governor.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Is that maybe that's the announcement that he doesn't want to drop on us?
No. Like, I don't understand why nobody is talking about maybe reducing the size of the government. Stop spending all the money. Like, stop. It's all who should we tax more? The rich people? You'll just waste that, and we'll be here again in 4 years. Like, so I'm just, it's like a budget, like anything else. You don't spend more than you make. Yeah.
Well, the richer, they figured out how to get around the taxes. Like,
well, they're just going by the tax code that's in place, because if they weren't, they'd be in prison. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's so funny to hear the politicians argue. They need to pay more. They're following your rules. They're just very smart about it.
Right.
You know, they're not doing anything illegal. Mm-hmm. So it's funny. You made the rules, and then you're mad they follow them, and they're not paying taxes like you supposedly want them to.
Yeah.
Strange. And you can't take a wealthy person. You can't tax them to death, because they are the ones making the money. They're going to figure out how to reinvent the wheel, and they're still going to make what they want to make.
Yeah, so for the most part, they work their asses off to get
there.
there.
Absolutely. So they don't, number one, they don't deserve to be taxed more. It's not, they're successful. Good for them. Maybe you should learn from them.
Yeah.
How to budget, how to actually make something successful. But then when people talk about taxing the wealthy, so if you want to tax the guy that owns Amazon, great. It's not like he's going to make as much as he wants to make. He'll eliminate positions. He'll do whatever he wants to do. He's going to make as much as he wants to make. So don't act like you're going to bring him down a notch. He's going to be wherever he wants to be. You're just going to screw up his employees. Yeah. He's just going to change that stuff up, automate things,
Change how much he charges for.
Yeah, so it's I've never been jealous of someone that's successful. Good for them. Yeah. I hope to be there someday, right? Yeah. And I think some people are just like, they don't see a path to it. So it's like, oh, they don't deserve that.
Well, it's because hard work.
Yeah, and so it's like they don't want them to have that success. So they're okay, take half their money. Like, yeah, that's not going to fix anything.
Yeah, I never understood that either. And I get where it comes from, because, I can imagine, I not only imagine, I know what it's like to grow up not wealthy at all. I won't say dirt poor, because I didn't miss too many meals, a few here and there. But I get being upset, and I get where that jealousy and those things would come from. But man, instead of spending your time just being angry, figure out how to get there. Figure out, all right, what do I have to do to just improve my status just a little bit? What can I do today to improve what I got going on, or what can I spend less on, or maybe I don't think I'm ever going to be an Elon Musk, because he's an alien. Yeah. But or a Bezos, but you know what I mean? I'm never going to be a billionaire, but all right, how can you be more successful? I don't know. Maybe the homeschooling is the answer.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I don't want to be. I probably do sound kind of crazy sometimes, but I think I didn't like school so much because it was it felt like all I was doing was follow the rules. Sit here, follow the rules. When you get in trouble, we'll discipline you. I'm like, I don't even want to be here. Number one, this is awful. I don't like this. And so it's interesting, I think, because look at how many generations have been raised in school like that. Don't question anything. Do it like this. Don't break these rules, whether you agree with them or not. So I think it's interesting to see now with the whole mask thing that came up. Everyone wanted to follow the rules. I didn't. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. This doesn't make sense. This is my body. I'm not doing this stuff. And so that was part of the reason. I'm like, you know what? I don't really agree with a lot of what the school does. I want my kids to learn how to think on their own. I don't want them to sit there and be told, this is how you do it. Raise your hand to go to the bathroom. Like, I don't know. So I said, maybe I sound strange for it, but like, I don't know.
I mean, I'll be strange with you. I get it. I know it when I was in school, like I've talked about it a handful of times, where it's, I understood what the rules were, and I made sure I did the minimum to, abide by those rules. Like there were times where teachers would that I'm like, hey, is that passing? Like, is that, they're like, well, yeah, but see you later. Like, I don't care. As long as I get out of here with my piece of paper, that's all I care about. Like, cause that's what my mom told me I had to do. Like I had to graduate. Yeah. So as long as I do that, I don't care about anything else. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it took me 10 years to realize I don't have to work for anybody. You can open your own business, but that's never brought up in school.
Yeah.
And I think that's the greatest thing. I mean, I get it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants that journey. But I think it's a huge piece of the puzzle that we're missing in our country. Like, why don't you train kids to like think more independently and let them like, dude, get out of high school and try to open your own business. Try to do something, learn something and get really good at it. And if it fails, you can get a job, right. Like there's nothing wrong with either one, but there's no push for business.
Dude, that's the paradigm of education. What we talked about plenty of times, that convergent thinking and how it's just follow this. And it goes back to, you jokingly mentioned Elon Musk. You mentioned why aren't kids starting more businesses? The fact that divergency isn't applauded. Like how many more Elon Musks would we have if someone said,
it's almost discipline.
Yeah, no, if they said, Craig, hey, you seem like you don't really enjoy this, or Fred, you don't really give a shit about this. Maybe we should do something different. Maybe we should give you, this avenue to go explore. Oh, you're good at math. You want to do something? Let's put you in a fucking rocket science program. Craig, you seem like you like lifting weights. Well, let's hook you up with someone who owns a gym who could talk to you about this. And, now maybe we have more business owners. Now maybe we have more science, technology, healthcare, all kinds of shit is advanced because we stopped keeping kids in a fucking box.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I think I forget who. I'm sure there's a whole thing around it, but I know there was I saw something at one point where they talked about how the idea of the school system was to prepare kids to work in factories back in the day.
That hasn't changed.
Yeah, but that was because it was like through the Industrial Revolution. It was like they basically
that was the main job, right?
Yeah, we had to train kids to be able to follow the rules, show up on time. You got to raise your hand when you got to go to the bathroom because you can't walk away from the assembly line. So we have to train kids to go work in factories. And now it's like the school system's still stuck there, but everything else has advanced so much that it's like there's so much out there, especially with technology. It's like there's so many things you could do. Like instead of actually creating a real business, now it's like they've discovered that you can be a TikTok star or something like that. And it's like, now that's what all the kids want to do. It's like, man, like create something like that's actually beneficial to the world, to weird ass dances, but something like, man, like, like just breaking outside of that box. Like, I don't know. I think I don't know if trouble's the word, but something's got to change. Something's got to give.
More homeschooling, it sounds like, man. Now kids aren't in a box, and it's like, hey, you get to follow dad to work, and all of a sudden he's a business owner, and I could be a business owner, or I think that's pretty cool. I think that's probably going to help change things to a certain degree.
Well, in business, if you own a business, you're selling something, whether it's a service or a product. And the first job I ever had was a Fin Feather Fur. I sold boots. I was like 14. I remember distinctly. I was picking on my brother, and my mom, it was like June. We just got out of school. My mom, stayed at home with us, and she's like, that's it. You can't stay home all summer and do this. She's like, put some dress clothes on. We're going to the Fin, because my dad's good friends with the owner and all that at the time. So drove over there. Mom's like, go ask that guy if you can have a job. So I did. And he didn't recognize, he didn't know who I was. He didn't know my dad. Well, he knew my dad, but he didn't know me.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, just bring back a resume or whatever. I was like, Mom, he wants a resume. We drove home. She made a resume, drove back. I was 14, right? He was just trying to get me out of his way. So they hired me, I was selling boots. Well, the first day I was there, they had me selling guns, and I didn't know the difference between a rifle and a shotgun.
Oh,
I was 14.
Yeah.
I was like, is this even
I'm not
legal?
allowed to own one
Yeah,
of
I'm like,
these.
here, I'm handling guns at work. That's cool. But so no, they had me selling boots, and looking back on it, like they paid me a commission for every pair of boots I sold. I made like $2. And I thought that was great because I made minimum wage, $5.15 an hour, and then I made $2 every pair I sold. So I could easily double my hourly rate selling a few pairs of boots. But little did I know, at the time, that was the best education I probably ever got. Because when you bring a pair of boots back to somebody to try on, you're watching their physical reaction to it, their verbal reaction to it, everything. So every interaction I had with people, I had to communicate with them. I had to listen to what they said. I had to listen to what they wanted in a boot. And then I'd have to fit them with the right one and have them try it on and sell it. So at the time, I was just like, I'm just selling boots. But now, like, everything is based on relationships in business. Everything. You know, if you're a really hard to deal with person or antisocial or whatever, you can't read people, you're going to struggle. So anytime, you know, not that I'm like a salesman for the gym, but I used to be because my gym had nothing. Like I said, it was the most unequipped gym in the city. So I had to sell it then, you know. And so I think I made a post a couple weeks ago and I was like, college kids, that's fine if you go to college. I have a college degree. If you have a plan for it, good. Otherwise, I look at your work history because I'm a lot more interested in that because I know what my college was. And it was just show up to class, submit your paper, pass the test. I wasn't super impressed by that. Like it wasn't that in my mind, it wasn't that hard.
Right.
I want to see you work somewhere for 3 or 4 years. Tell me about that. What did you learn? Because that's a long time to work somewhere. So I guess that was my message is I always feel like talking to high school and college kids because I'm like, at the time you think you know everything. I was the same way. I was in college, high school. I knew exactly what I was going to be a state patrolman, you know? So I never asked anybody like, is that a good job? Like, should I do this? Is that what I should do? What should I do? And I see it now all the time. High school, college kids, they think they know what they want to do. And, well, it was funny. A year ago, Ashland High School asked me, they're like, hey, can you come in on career day and talk about being a personal trainer? I was like, yeah, but I'd rather talk about being a business owner because that's a whole lot more beneficial to the kids. You know, and that's what I would want to be. Personal training is great, but like, keep moving. Like you want to own a business, like keep grinding and get to that point. That's the goal in my mind. Yeah. So I think it's interesting is there needs to be more thought put into place with kids in school and even college. Like networking is far more important than your degree, in my opinion. The people you know, that's made. I can't imagine rewinding the last 8 years. If I wouldn't have met the people I met, I don't know, I'd probably be back working for somebody, you know? So the network you make and the people you interact with, huge benefit.
Yeah. I remember thinking years after, like, man, I wish I could like go back to high school and just tell like all those kids like, hey, none of this matters. Like there's things that matter, like, and enjoy them, but like, think about, you know, it's so hard at that age. Like, you see, like everyone, you think they know it all. You think you know it all. You think your parents are just the dumbest people alive. And then 15 years later, you're like, oh,
I think I was 27. I told my mom, you know a little more than I thought. So I've got some questions. You hit that point in your 20s, you're like, they're not so dumb.
Yeah.
But from like 14 to 24,
like I got this figured out. Yeah, I know that's what it was. You talked about your first jobs and stuff. I remember I was young. I was like, hey, I want this or I want that. By the time, like when I was like 14 or when I was younger, it was like, well, we don't have the money for that. And then by the time I got to about 14 or 15, she's like, well, go get a job, buy it yourself. And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then when I was 15, I was riding my bike to work. I was like, well, I want a car when I turn. She's like, well,
You
better
harder.
work more hours. I can save up your money if you want to buy a car. Like it was a crappy car and it blew up on me about a year later, but I bought it, with my own money. Like there's something to be said about earning and
absolutely.
your own way.
What was your first job, Tone?
Logger.
Delivering. Popped out of the womb with a chainsaw, cut the umbilical cord, hammered off. Delivering papers.
Oh yeah.
With a bicycle?
So bicycle and vehicle. Sometimes I'd get my mom involved in it early in the morning and
Quicker route.
yeah. So and then I worked at construction when I was 14. Just carrying heavy shit. I was remodeling hotels. They were like, all these boards need to be up on the 7th floor.
Oh, it's a perfect job.
Okay, let's do it. So, and then during high school, I worked at Bob Evans for like 3 years. And it was, you ever seen the movie Waiting?
I also worked at a Bob Evans. Yes. I don't eat at a Bob Evans very often. Ever.
Is that why you make delicious breakfasts now?
Oh, yeah.
Because you worked at Bob Evans?
I stole so much shit when I worked at Bob Evans.
They had good biscuits for a long time.
Chicken fingers. Chicken fingers.
Yeah, I could see that.
Chicken fingers and honey mustard.
But don't you think it's important, though, that you had those low-paying, crappy jobs?
Absolutely, man. It made me so hungry. I was like, man, this is what I don't want to do. But I mean, like you said, it definitely instilled, that work ethic, and you kind of saw how things went, and it was like, yeah, no one just gave me shit. Like, it goes back to meritocracy. Like, I worked my ass off, and I got more shit. Like, makes sense. That's how things should be.
Including skills and education, like not even just education as far as like schools go, but like we still talked about like working and getting that education through the experience of doing the job and seeing how things work. Like they're called entry level positions for a reason. Like they're supposed to be filled by people with no skills. So you learn you wash dishes, and then you get to cook some toast, and then maybe some over easy eggs, and then maybe you're the head chef at some point, or you can be a manager of the restaurant, whatever. Like, but you don't just start out as like it doesn't. That's the hardest thing I think I see a lot of people say. You don't just start out like making it. Like, it doesn't work that way. But
you have to provide. You have to provide value. That's it. That's what you're paid based off of.
Yeah, if you started out and you just made it, like you probably wouldn't appreciate it.
No, you definitely wouldn't appreciate it, and you would just fail. Honestly, I think that like eventually you would just fail. Like if you like someone just if someone just gave me I worked in a restaurant for like 3 years or so, but if someone just gave me a restaurant to run, I'd fail because I have no idea how to run a full restaurant. Like. There's no way. You might be able to fake it for a little bit. But
well, if it had alcohol and nudity, I mean, you're probably good.
That's cheap steak lunches. Is that what, different kind of restaurant, Tony.
Bada bing.
Yeah, not that kind of restaurant. I could probably make that kind of restaurant work. Microwaving steaks.
It's funny that Craig talks about value because I come out of the bathroom the other day and I hear Fred say, because your product is shit, Kai. Mind you, she's not 10 yet. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She made a paper bow tie. And this is the part of the conversation I missed. She's like, you should wear it at your next podcast. And he was like, no, I'm not going to wear that. And she's like, well, why? And he goes, well, it's paper and it's uncomfortable and there's absolutely no way to attach it to my shirt. Like, why would I wear that? And she goes, well, I worked really hard on it. And he goes, well, that's fine. I love that you love it, but like, she goes, I could sell them. And he goes, that's fine, but if nobody wants to buy it, your product is shit. And I was like, wait. But I was like, it's true. It was just so true. And then I had, like buffer it out. They're like, if you want to be an artist, it's fine. If you love it, you don't have to be successful just because you make money. And Fred was like, well, that's true. But like, if you want to make money, you have to provide somebody with something that they want to buy. And I do not want to buy or wear this bow tie.
It was impossible to wear. It's not that I didn't want to wear it.
Yeah.
I wanted to wear it.
Life lessons learned early.
Yeah. Well, I think that too. With there's times where, and maybe we're a little too crass with our child, but I had this conversation the other day with somebody. I was like, look, like, I get it. We obviously shield her from a lot of things, but we don't shield her as much as nearly as I would say as the average person. And I had the conversation the other day with someone. I was like, she's gonna get older as long as we're not like severely affecting her like mental well-being at a young age. Like, you're gonna learn it eventually. Like you're gonna get older. You're gonna see these things. Like, I might as well teach you in this safe space, in this realm of, hey, life's hard sometimes. Sometimes life sucks, but you got to pick yourself back up and you got to keep moving. Like, it's going to be rough, but I'd rather her learn some of those things in the safeness of our household than us shelter her whole life and get out in the world and have her boss go, hey, you suck.
Yeah.
And her whole world just come crashing down when now if like she gets a job and she screws up and her boss screams at her and they say, hey, you suck, you screwed that up. My parents been telling me that for years. I got, okay, how do I fix it? Yeah. Like, and that was always my attitude, was like, all right, like, if I suck at something, yell at me, let me know so I can fix it. That was one of the biggest things that like I had with employers as I got older, was like, when they wouldn't tell me, like, eventually all these things would build up, like, well, this, that, you don't, this. Why didn't you tell me that? I would have fixed it. Like, that's not a problem. Like, I wasn't like doing it on purpose to piss you off. Like, just didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, so tell me what I suck at.
Yeah.
So I can work on it. And everyone gets a participation
I was going to
trophy.
say, there's no damn participation trophies in any of these houses at this table right here.
Yeah. It's like, you're just setting people up for failure.
Yeah. You got to be honest with your kids at a certain age, I'd say, my son's 10 and yeah, he's at that age where he's had business ideas and stuff, and we talk it through with him because we never discourage him, because obviously we want to promote, you should have a business someday. But being 10 years old, there's limitations to what you can do, So I think just having that discussion when they're mature enough, and that's what we do, is we're like, well, buddy, it's going to be real tough. You're going to have to find something pretty specific to make a true business out of at 10 years old. It just is not common. You don't have a lot of resources. So for now, we pretty much just teach him how to he always wants to spend money on stuff. And we're like, well, you don't have a job, so you don't have an income, so if you spend money, it's gone. You don't have a replacement coming in for it.
Right.
So it's conversations like that we try to have with him about just make him responsible. So sometimes, if he wants to buy a game or an upgrade for Minecraft, I'll be like, all right, give me the cash because it's going on my credit card. So he actually has to give me the money and then he can download the game. So I don't know. My parents taught me to be responsible and I hated it at the time. Well, I remember I had to wake my mom up because we lived out of school district. I had to wake her up in the morning to take me to school. She didn't wake me up. I had to wake her up. And if I overslept, she overslept. And so I was, a lot of parents don't do that. It's like, oh, little Billy, let's wake him up for school. It's like, no, that was on me. I had to get up. I couldn't just lay there and wait for mom to come back and wake me up again. So it's things like that, because I overslept once or twice and I hated it because I was late for school. I was like, why don't you just set your alarm? But looking back on it, I'm like, she wanted me to be responsible because I ain't going to have my mom wake me up every day.
You were the one going to school,
yeah,
not her.
Yeah. So it was things like that I hated, but then come to find out years later, I was like, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. That's what I think we got. I got her alarm clock when she was in first grade, I think. It was like maybe first or second. It was like, all right, like, you're old enough. Like, you got to start if you're old enough to dress yourself. Yeah. You can set your alarm clock. You can get out of bed on time. You can get dressed. We're starting to transition on breakfast, because they're still you don't need to work the oven. You are very incredibly intelligent child. But you are incredibly clumsy. And let's just stay away from hot stuff at this point. We're getting there, but not unattended. Yeah. But it's like, man, that was some of the biggest things that I learned when I was younger. It was like, you got to do it yourself because eventually no one's going to do it. Like, no one's going to be around to save you.
Yeah. And being in the business world now for a couple of years, it's important to take that extra step in everything you do. Like, go just go one step further with things. And I think the biggest thing, the benefit I have now, and what I mean by that is I've made an extra point to like reach out one step further. You know, if someone gives me a number, someone gives me a contact, I'll look them up. I'll figure it out. And because sometimes it's a dead end, other times it can be huge. The best example I have of that is I have a connection with an equipment company, and they have a warehouse in Youngstown, and it's a huge company. It's based out of Vancouver. And the guys that come in from Cleveland to service my cardio equipment, they come in every 6 months, tear everything apart, fix it all up, repair it, whatever. They mentioned to me one time, they're like, hey, there's a place that's got like new equipment like that you might be interested in. Okay. Looked them up, and it's been incredible. Like, I have equipment in my gym now that I would not have otherwise. Couldn't afford it. So, and I always think about it like, dude, go that extra step. Reach out, make that connection somehow, because it can be huge or it can be a dead end, but you know, it's worth the risk either way. And the other thing I learned, and it hasn't really ever, the longer you're in business, you start to realize like everybody, every single person knows something you don't, and knows someone you don't. And you never know, you know? So not that I treat people poorly or anything like that, but I never write anyone off. Like, I always, what's your story? What's your deal? So you never know what someone might know. That someone might know something that'll completely change the path of your life.
Oh yeah.
But if you burn a bridge or you don't like treat them properly or something like that, you'll never know that. So, just things I've learned, you know, just always try to pick a little bit further, figure out what makes people tick a little bit, and you'll learn something.
Oh yeah. I know we were talking before we started this, how, you know, this has just been a massive impact on my life. And, you know, I say it a bunch, but this is something I never would have done before. But, you know, we have hopefully some interesting things that might happen in the future that are from like the connection, like 3 or 4 times removed from the guests that we've already had on. Yeah. So like, we had this one person that this person knew, and then, they knew this person, and then this person knew this other person. And now it's like, it's just this, you know, trickling effect of like, you just never know what or who somebody knows that you just never would imagine. It's like, whoa, like there's been multiple times where you're having, you know, conversation with people, and halfway through it's like, wait, what? Like, really? Like, that's, it's really neat. Like, and that's, I think people are can be, you know, closed off. You know, we talked about how a lot of times people just don't sit down and have those conversations anymore. You know, it's always on the phone, like you're 150, you know,
or you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
Like, every once in a while I'll catch somebody in the gym and start a conversation with them, and they're actually not in a big rush. And it's just nice to be able to talk, because it's not normal. Like, it's not normal anymore. Like, maybe your own family, but it's so sad because nowadays, you start to have a conversation with somebody and it's like, they're gone. They have to go. They have to go do this, go do that. And before the whole shutdown thing, and I see it starting to come back now, like, people wrap their whole day up and they're so busy they can't even live.
Yeah.
And I'm completely against that, you know. I like free time. I don't like having to rush from one thing to the next. I like my schedule to be open. I like the freedom of it. And I just don't understand how some people operate. I guess if that's what they want to do, it's their life. But I think they let the world dictate what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And it's like, it's funny to me because people are, you know, now when I first opened the gyms, I was coaching in the morning. I would go to work all day and my normal job, and then coach at night. So my whole everything, I was so busy. Like, from the time I woke up to when I went to bed, I was busy.
There was something you said about that hustling.
You have to. You have to
yeah.
at a point. And some people do that their whole lives. They love it. They feed off of it. And I don't. I don't like that. And so sometimes people now be like, I bet you're at the gym all day. I'm like, no, because I would hate it. If I had to be at the gym 12 hours a day, I would hate that place. I'm there when I want to be there. I'm there to see how things are going, work out, talk to some people. I did not create a prison for myself. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've always been kind of against the whole, I don't like working myself to death. I could do personal training. I could be doing it right now probably, but that's not what I want to do. So despite what society thinks, you know, you grind, I'm like, I want to live.
Yeah, you have to find a balance somewhere.
You know, and you know, so everything, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Everyone's different, but I just encourage you to do what you want to do with your life. Don't do it because everyone else is doing it and thinks it's cool. Like, do what you want to do. Yeah, I enjoy my life. You know, it's a couple of years ago. I was like, I want to stop doing stuff I don't like to do. Like, how do I do that? You know, how do I figure that out?
Yeah.
Right.
Learn to say no.
Yeah. So
we started doing that more and more often. Like in the last couple of years, it's like, fine. It's like, you know what, like, I'm going to be mid-30s soon. Like, why am I doing these stupid things that like I don't want to do? And like, I dread, like, no, I'm just not doing it. Like, I don't have to do that. I'm not doing that. Like, sorry that I missed your second baby's gender reveal party, but I had something to do. Like, sit by my pool. I'll see it when it comes out. Like, like, not, you know, it's a stupid example, but you know, I've been yelling at Tony for the last year or so. He's got to stop working 4 jobs and working his life away.
If he enjoys it, then that's it. It's his life. Right?
He bitches about it, so that's why.
I don't think I ever really bitch.
No,
about
not
it.
bitch.
I just say, yeah, I'm busy, man. I accept it, but I have not an end goal, but like a point. Right. I know that I think if I can get here, then I'll be able to kind of like enjoy some more things. And it's not a given. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I do the other things, because I could die tomorrow. So.
I just like giving you a hard time about it.
No, I know.
And you call me like, I'm driving from so-and-so. I've been a 12-hour day. I'm like, well, you could always stop doing that.
I just laugh because you never thought I'd actually work.
That's true.
And met it. You're like, you still don't work a real job, you bastard.
Yeah. Well, for the longest time, he's like, oh, I worked. I'm like, what do you mean you worked? Like, because before the Rogue really took off, like he was working.
Oh, bro, I had it made. I worked 2 days a week and made boatloads of cash.
And that was it.
It was fantastic. And then Corey came along and I've just been working the whole time.
Yeah. I remember the first time he's like, oh, I got a real job. I'm like, oh yeah, what do you do? He's like, well, I work. I don't remember if it was the jail or where it was.
Yeah.
I was like, how many hours? He's like, oh, well, it's 2 days a week for 4 hours. I'm like, that's not a real job, Tony.
Felt real to me, right?
Yeah. When you don't need a lunch break in the middle of your shift.
Yeah, that's not a real. Or when you only do it once a week.
Yeah, I will say this: the shutdown changed my perspective quite a bit. And I hate to say anything good came out of it, but I guess the one good thing would be before the shutdown, I was so focused on that bottom line. How much more money can I make? How many more members can I get? What do I got to do? Push, grind. And then when that happened, it was like yanked the rug out from under me. I was like, well, that set me back a chunk. And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, I lost all these members. I lost this income. I still can do about whatever I want to do. Let's do that. Because I realized just chasing that money, you're never going to get there, ever. So you have to chase something different. If you're chasing money, I mean, look at the Bezos and Musk. Those guys have more money. They couldn't plot a way to spend it all, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think they're out for money. They just like seeing this innovations and new things, you know? So I guess that's where I'm at. And I try to tell people, it kind of clicked in the last year. I'm like, don't go after the money. Like, the thing is with money, like you're always going to want and desire something you can't quite afford, right? So when I was in high school, I wanted an Xbox so bad. My parents wouldn't buy me one. I couldn't afford one. $400. That was like 5 paychecks. Now I could buy like 10 Xboxes, right?
Right.
But I don't care because I can afford it. I want what's next, right? You always want what you just out of reach. A different car, boat, house somewhere else. And so you have to understand that desire for more and more is not, that's an ugly human society trait that we all have. Most of us probably do. And so I kind of realized that early on. I'm like, well, this last year, I was like, no, I'm not chasing that money. I'm just going to live my life. You know, I'm going to enjoy every day. I'm not going to go do things I hate doing, that I don't like doing. And I've got no complaints, you know, with my life. So it's been a good change for me because before the shutdown, yeah, I was like, dude, personal train this person. Let's drive more people into classes. Now I'm like, if you want to come to the gym, cool. If you don't, all right, you know, because that money's not going to make me any happier.
I think you said it really well. For most people, we're always going to be chasing something, and the dollar is. You're never going to find the end to it. So find something to chase that gives you some satisfaction at least. Yeah. And, you know, if you can find a way to attach $1 to it and get some while you're there, like, great. Yeah. You know, we've talked to a handful of people, and I know myself, 2020, we said some bad stuff happened, but it's ignited a lot of good change. You know, there's a lot of bad change too, but at least personally, like, it was a real eye opener. It was like, oh, like, things can turn on a dime, no matter, you know, where you're at in life or what you're doing. Like, things can change real quick. So, you know what, like, let's focus on just enjoying it. Yeah. You know, obviously, like, you still have to pay the bills and do all those things, but man, just to change that needle a little bit to go, oh, what can I chase that's just enjoyable?
Yeah. And last year, part of the frustration with me was I was like, guys, I don't know about you. None of us are going to live forever. So we literally are wasting our time, not doing anything, hiding in our house. Right. And, so that's how I live. Like, I know I might not live to tomorrow. Like, I have no idea what's coming. And so, yeah, I plan for the future, right? Do business stuff for the future. Like, I'm going to live forever. But I don't live every day like I'm going to live forever. Like, not that I do anything crazy or reckless, you know, but it's like I'm not
burnouts in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. So I'm not trying to, I'm not going to suffer every day and do things I hate to do. And the worst conversations I used to have was when I worked for the county. We would inevitably talk about how long do we have till we retire? And everyone would go around the table, list off the years. And I'm like, this is probably the same thing they talk about in prison. And I'm like, I used to just get mad. I would get angry. I'm like, I'm not doing this, guys. Like, and I hated that because I was like, we're literally, this is like jail, except we get to go home at night, you know? I just really, I'm a weird guy. I guess I'd never clicked with that. Like, I don't want to go to work at 8. Like, maybe I want to do something different today, you know? And it was hard to get there, you know. I worked hard to get that, but I would encourage most people, like, work for freedom. Find the freedom in your life, in your day. I think that's at least my goal. As long as I have enough money to live, you know, do what I want to do. Yeah, I can't buy a $5 million house, you know, but you look at the property tax on it. Like, that's why I look at it. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not doing that. Like,
who needs a $5 million house?
But that's what people chase, right? They chase that stuff that's just out of reach. And it doesn't make you happy.
So you could buy a $4 million house is what you're saying.
No. But, yeah. So I guess that's when my thinking changed in the last year. That's what's changed it the most is, like, stop grinding for that dollar. Because I didn't have a goal. Now, if I had a goal, like, okay, I need to make this amount of money so I can do A, B, and C. Right. Boom. I get it. Makes perfect sense. I didn't have that. It was just make more money to make more money. And definitely eased up on that quite a bit. You know, it's always the goal in business. You can't work backwards. You know, you've got to make money. Everyone knows that. But
I think a lot of people have a hard time too with understanding what that freedom is like until you've had a taste of it. And you go, oh, this is what people mean. Like, this is really nice.
Yeah.
But when you have bills to pay, and that, you've been preaching to the choir, because that was my goal as I was getting to the workforce was, man, if I could just make enough money to pay all my bills on time and have food in the fridge, like, life is good. Like, that's all I was worried about, because man, if I can do that, like, and not have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, and I don't have to worry about my house getting like if I can own a house, like, I'm good. I guess maybe I had my sights set fairly low for myself when I was a teenager. But
your goals will change over time once you understand things.
Yeah.
I have an understanding. I am not going to live forever.
Yep. No one gets out alive.
So I think too many people are too, my thing is I would always tell myself, if I live to be 70 years old, am I going to regret not trying more things? And I never want to say that. Give it a shot. I'd rather give it a shot than fail. Because I remember I told my wife when I opened the second gym, I went to a training. I was working at Children's Services. I went to a training at Ashland, and I walked in that morning, and it was the same old PowerPoint. I'm like, dude, I don't belong here. This is not what I'm meant to do. And at lunch, I drove around town looking for lease rent signs for a gym. I'm like, I got to find a spot to open a CrossFit gym here.
Get out.
So I found one, called him, and I looked at it right after the training that day. And I was like, this will work. So I went home and told Jesse. I remember I was like, look, you can be for me or against me, but I'm opening another gym and I'm quitting my job. Whatever you want to do with that's up to you. And she didn't argue it. I think she knew, like, all right, well, he's finally,
like, oh, this is already set.
He's finally lost his mind. And because I was like, I can't wait. I can't spend another day doing what I'm doing. I don't like it. Like, this is not enjoyable. And I think that's a problem a lot of younger people have, myself included, everybody. When you're high school, college, you're looking at how much do I make an hour at this job? Right. It's all money based. Mm-hmm. Well, and then a year later, after you get that job, you're like, ugh, all of a sudden, I don't care about the money. This job sucks. Yes. Like, I want to get something else.
I regret every single hour I'm here.
Yeah. Yes. Because one of the best paying jobs I ever had when I worked for somebody was the most stressful job I'd ever had in my life. And I'm like, okay, no, this is not working. So, but that's what you're taught in school for the most part. You're going to have a boss someday. What are you going to do? It was the weirdest thing. I don't remember the teacher's name. I went to the Career Center in Smithville. And my junior year there, my English teacher, she figured out that I was going to go to Ashland next year, or after I graduated. It must have been a senior. She figured I was going to Ashland University. Treated me completely different the whole rest of the time. Like I was some special person. I was like, well, this is bull crap. Like, you shouldn't do that. Like, I'm no different. You just figured out I'm going to college now? So, it just, I don't know, just crazy stuff. I think the pendulum's going to swing back, and people aren't going to be as concerned with college. They want to know what you can do for them,
right.
Yeah,
I think that's more coming, too, especially with more people, even with the technological, I'm not going to call it a phase because I think it's here to stay. But all the remote working and like the programmers and people that are doing those things, like people are starting to see it's like just a piece of paper here or there. Like that doesn't mean crap. Like what can you do?
Yeah.
What worth do you have?
Yeah.
What can you bring to the table? Like, or how trainable are you?
I think especially after this whole unemployment thing and all the craziness with the shutdown, I bet you're going to see employers looking at, wait, this person's worked for 3 straight years right through the pandemic. I'll hire them.
Yeah.
I don't want to see someone who's like, wait a second, you got a year here where you didn't do anything. What happened? What were you doing?
Right.
Like work history, in my opinion, if I'm looking to hire someone, that will trump almost anything else.
Yeah.
Like
it'd be one thing if it was like, well, I used to be a chef at a restaurant.
Well, if you have a good explanation.
Then it's like, oh, okay, you weren't allowed to go to work.
Give me a good explanation for it, right?
Right.
I just don't, I guess in my mind, if I was talking to college kids, do not come to me with a resume that just has your degree on it
Yeah, it
and
doesn't-
no work experience. Come back to me when you work somewhere.
Yeah, I know when I've done interviews at my work, and I've done interviews when you get these people with like a 2-3 page resume, and it's like all of the things where I'm like, man, this person's more qualified to do a job lower than me than I am, like my job. You talk to them, and it's like, whoa, now I understand, because all you've been doing is just sitting in school. Like, you haven't actually done any work because you're impossible to talk to.
Yeah.
Let alone like, and then you get a guy that just, or a gal that just comes out and has worked a couple jobs, and you talk to them and you go, oh, like they have potential.
They get it.
Like they want to work. They want to learn. Like they've got room to grow. It's like, okay, I want the person that's willing to go to work, willing to grow and learn, and not sit here and tell me how smart you are.
Right.
Like, because you're trying to get a job with me, not the other way around. Like, don't, it's, people are starting to see that, at least I hope so.
Yeah, I think it'll be more and more common as time goes on. I mean, they just want to see someone who's willing to work.
Willing to put the time in. That's the hard part sometimes too. Especially when you're getting all types of monies for free. You'd see DeSantis is telling everybody that's on unemployment they have to start looking for jobs. It's like, finally, like, why wouldn't you? Like, we need people. Like, we need people out there.
Oh, that, and then what did he? I think he like outlawed the vaccine passport. Like any places that were
that seems
you just shut it down.
Scarily crazy to me that people are like, oh, that's a good idea.
It is scarily crazy. Yeah.
Like, I get the idea, but people that are like, yeah, we need this. I'm like, whoa, like,
No,
you don't understand what.
You need to lose some weight and get healthy instead of relying on a damn vaccine.
Yeah.
It's a wild world out there.
No, it's a dumb world out there.
I was trying to be nice.
I'm past nice. Like, I just don't have time for stupidity and the lack of common sense.
Yeah.
You follow the science, Tony. Duh.
I actually do follow the science.
Tony be one of the medical people that was blacklisted.
I probably am blacklisted.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I probably am blacklisted.
Everything he posts just says COVID vaccine fact check. He doesn't even have to be anything related. It's just there.
Yeah. This statement is partially misleading.
So ridiculous.
Oh, so what you just gonna ride the gym wave for off into the sunset? You think is that the?
Yeah,
I know you said I know you said had some things coming that you couldn't talk about, but like big picture wise,
we'll just say
like,
the gym business is what I want to do. That's all I'll do. It was funny. My daughter actually asked me, like, because I've been thinking about coming here. I'm like, I wonder what we're going to talk about. And my daughter asked me the other day, she's like, what would you do if you didn't have a gym? What would you want to do?
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about whatever you want. Like, if there's, we can talk about
that's
aliens.
fine.
I'm always good for that too.
But I was like,
whatever you want, man.
The only thing I could come up with was like a drummer. Because I was like, I don't want to do anything else. But I always
There's gonna
thought
have to be some stout drums.
Well, I was like, dude,
Craig, rock the fuck out of those drums.
I was like, I have no rhythm. I tried to play Rock Band. I couldn't do it. I don't understand how the drummers hold a different rhythm with their hands and their feet.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's 4 different rhythms.
I
at the
can
same
do
time.
one at a time.
Yeah.
One rhythm at a time. I can't do one with my left leg and my right hand. It doesn't work like that. So I was like, yeah, that's about it. Like, I don't, literally, I sat there and thought, I was like, that's a great question. I was like, I don't know. I think once you find what you really want to do, you don't.
No reason to look.
Yeah. I don't want to do anything else. I don't have a desire to. I've tried other stuff. I worked plenty of jobs. And, the problem was I kept trying to find a better job that would fit money-wise and what I wanted, but it didn't matter.
Right.
It never made me happy. And finally, I was like, I've got to just open a gym. And it was a horrible... If you looked at the numbers and how everything worked when I did that Worcester gym when I opened it, you'd be like, you're dumb. So I worked at the Village Network at the time, and I hit a point where I was like, look, I don't like this job. I'm leaving. And looking at my resume, it was like getting shorter and shorter work periods. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to work myself out of a job because pretty soon no one's going to hire me because I don't have the history. So I was like, Jess, I got to open a gym. And things kind of came together, and we rented that space from Earl Hawkins, by Planet Fitness now, that little retail strip.
Yeah.
Tiny little place. The rent was super cheap. They didn't make me sign any lease because it was like no one else was going to rent it. But I had to quit my job. And at the time, that was the best paying job I ever had. But I told my boss at the time, I was like, look, I need it. I'll work here. I'll take a demotion, a pay cut or whatever. But I need something like 8 to 4 where I know I can come and leave at a certain time. He's like, no, don't have anything. Okay. So I quit and got a job at Job and Family Services as a benefit recovery supervisor, which was a whole nother story. Took a huge pay cut to do it. My daughter, so I had Dominic, he was like 2, and my daughter would have been like 6 months old. And the lease at my new gym was $750 a month. And Jessie didn't work. She stayed with the kids. And if you looked at all of my bills and that rent, my paycheck surely did not cover it. Right? So when people talk about, I got to wait, there's never going to be a good time, ever. Have a little baby, little 2 babies at home essentially, and now you're renting a space to open a business where your income doesn't cover all the bills. But I was like, I got to do it. Like, my mom was the final push. I think my dad, he was probably still a little nervous. Like, I think he probably always looks at me like a little kid, like doesn't want me to fail, wants to protect me. So he wasn't as much excited about it, I don't think. My mom's like, just do it. And so I was like, all right, let's do it. And, opened the gym, and it was, it was almost weird because it was like, I think I had less stress then. I didn't even know what I was doing, like getting into it. I didn't even know how serious the stuff was, but, grew the gym and just never stopped, kept grinding from there. And, yeah, so, but it was, it's very true. Like, there's never going to be a good time. But I finally told myself, I'm like, I'm sick of hearing myself tell people I'm going to open a gym someday. You just get tired of hearing it. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'd rather say, yeah, I tried and it failed.
Right.
Than, yeah, well, I'm still waiting. It's like, just do it.
That's the man in the arena quote right there. The Roosevelt quote.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you gotta go for it at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got tired of hearing myself say it.
How was Jess with all of that? Was she like, oh man? Or was she just.
She's always been very supportive. And she has all the skills that I don't. She's got all the creativity. She sees things from a different perspective. So despite her not being like the face of the gym, like she's definitely the back end things of, and most of the time she gives me an idea. I'm like, that's dumb. And then 2 months later I present it as my own. Like that's, and then she's like, wait,
after you thought about it for 2 months?
she's like, wait, what? How did that work?
That's happened. I know what that's like. And then he's like, yeah, that was my idea. Was it really?
Yeah, I'm like,
no, I don't remember.
No, I don't remember that. Yeah, no, she was always supportive. Because without that, I would have never taken the risk. Your circle gets pretty small when you go do something like that. Yeah. Because I think when you first open a business, it's unfortunate to say, but I think when you first open a business, a lot of people just sit back and watch and just like, well, how long until they fail?
Right.
And like that thought alone kept me working. I was like, dude, I don't care what it takes. I'm not failing. This is not going to fail.
Which is such a crappy thing.
It is, but I think it, because, all these people, they're like, oh, I'll join your gym. I'll join your gym. I'll join your gym. And you never see them, Well, and the thing is, it was interesting. I don't know what my classmates I graduated with do, but like I've had gyms in Worcester and Ashland. And I think at this point I have like 2 or 3 people I graduated with that have been members of my gym. It's like, man, what do you guys do? None of you work out, So,
no,
and I don't care.
Have you seen the obese statistics in the United States?
Don't
Probably
work
not.
out.
Yeah, I guess not. That's a better thought. It's comforting for me, but it's one of those things. Like, I think people, I don't know. People want you to do good, but not better than them.
Yeah, I think that's probably well said.
I don't know. And then after I kind of proven myself, I guess after a couple of years, I started seeing more people that I knew in school. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to be part of the ship that was going down. I don't know what their thoughts were, but yeah, there's something about small businesses that is just, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. And because a lot of people look at you like they don't understand it. They don't understand why you're doing it, for what reasons you're doing it for.
But you were one of the first CrossFit gyms in Worcester, right? Like that wasn't even really a thing.
I didn't know the Lytles at all. I opened my gym, then a month later they opened theirs. I was like, oh dang, like because they had
That was the time frame.
1 month. They just popped up out of nowhere, and they I've gotten to know Samantha better. But yeah, I mean, I think if nothing, the thing is, here's the thing. I was, of course, like horrified because they had a bigger gym, more equipment. They had like full-time coaches. And I was like, dude, this is like, I just barely broke into the whole small business scene. And so at the time I was like, crap, what am I going to do?
Because I like a family business.
Yeah,
Wasn't it like a couple, like three or four siblings?
Yeah, Samantha, Janine, and JP. And they are great athletes, like games athletes. You know, I'm not a games athlete, so I'm like, oh, my gym's small, crappy. I have no equipment. Like, all right, like guys, you're gonna have to trust me here. Yeah, so they opened a month later. But the thing is, I look back at it, and they gained. I think they've done very, very well at what they do. They grew really fast, did a lot of things great. But I think if I look back at it, of course I would have been like the only one gym in town. But I think about it as like, dude, if I would have gotten half of the people they got, it would have destroyed my business. I didn't have room. I didn't have equipment. I didn't have any resources to try to accommodate that many people. And I think the other thing it did too was both of us opening about the same time. It put CrossFit on the map. Like everybody knew, okay, CrossFit's here. So at the time I was horrified and I was upset because I was like, I wanted to be the only CrossFit gym around. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, probably worked out best. Just all the way around.
Yeah, it's funny how those things work out.
And now we've gone, completely different. They're not a CrossFit affiliate. They dropped their affiliation, which I don't blame them because they were like regional games athletes. And then CrossFit's like, oh, no more regionals. I'm like, so it kind of took like everything they worked for.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, screw CrossFit. Like, I don't blame them at all, because it was kind of a.
So do they still run the same like style?
I think they
just don't use the affiliate name.
I think they probably do the same stuff.
Well, you just have to pay a bunch of money just to have CrossFit on like the side of the gym, right?
It's $3,000 a year, So, and the nice thing is, if anyone Googles CrossFit, you're gonna pop up. Right. If they look on the affiliate map, you pop up. So, for $250 a month, it's like we can keep paying that, just to have a internet presence. Right. And there's a standard, when people come to town and move to your town. If they're a CrossFit person, they know basically what to expect. Where if you go to some other gyms, you're not quite sure, am I going to be doing like kind of workout are they going to have me do today? So no, I think I like CrossFit. I've stuck with them. And I'll go back to it. I mean, I still do some workouts on occasion, just not like I did. My workouts now, I just love the bodybuilding stuff. I like getting stronger. So that's been my big kick, I guess, since the gyms reopened in the summer, is just focusing on that.
There's something to be said about lifting ridiculously heavy weights.
Yeah.
Like, just like, oh, wow. Like,
yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's nothing, I love the deadlift, obviously. It's no secret. There's just something about it. You either lift it up or you don't.
Yeah.
Are you stronger than this guy or not?
Yeah,
you can't cheat it. Like, you're not going to, you can't bounce the bar off the floor. Like, you either lift it or you don't. And so, always loved it. I've always been naturally, I feel like natural. It's been a natural lift for me, where like squatting has never felt good to me. It just never, and I hate that because, the stigma with legs training. Like, I train my legs. I just suck at squatting. Like, I'm just terrible at it. It just has never felt right for me.
It's a terrible lift.
It
takes so much out of you. Actually, just recently I've got back into squatting, where I'm like, oh, like this actually isn't so bad for the first time ever. Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh, I can actually do this. Yeah. It probably helps that like my shoulder's all messed up and I can't like bench as much either. So like, well, I guess it's leg day again.
Right.
But, It's an exhausting. It's like the most cardio lift.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I always used to hate it.
Well,
the cardio.
the
aspect.
squat's weird because the bar, you can't even see the bar. It's on your back. Like, what? You want me to lift this object, but I can't look at it or hold it in my hands. All right. Like, I think that's been the hard part for me. Is like anything else, if you're holding the bar, at least I don't know. I'm just weird like that, I guess. Just never felt good to me. No, my mom's been doing CrossFit though. She's been a CrossFit member since we first opened. So it's been awesome to see her because she's strong. I mean,
That's awesome.
yeah, like she sticks with it. She's dedicated. That's just how she is. But so it's been, it's been a really cool thing for her to be along the ride the whole time with us. And
What's her deadlift PR? It's pretty
Oh, gosh.
impressive. I've
it's
seen
over 300 pounds.
Yeah, I remember when she got 300, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn, Laura." Yeah.
She's hurt her back at one point, and I don't know if it's like it couldn't have been that bad because she doesn't really she didn't talk about it hardly at all. I don't know what she did, but it was over 300 pounds. She's 59.
That's awesome.
And she never lifted until we opened the gym. Never. No history of working out ever until she was like, 51, 52 years old. But no, she's been a huge supporter, like I said, she was the one that kind of pushed me over the edge at the last minute. Like, just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I think that's, a lot of people only look at what could go wrong, like worst case scenarios. Like, stop focusing on that. What could go right? What's
unless
the
it means
benefit?
like death
What's the
or
payoff?
dismemberment, okay.
Yeah.
then-
In the United States, you'd have to really screw your life up pretty severely to really have a bad time. There's so many government agencies to help you out and
It's
stuff.
not be able to make it back.
It's not like you're going to take your house and steal your car and you literally have nothing. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? And that's what I always think about. Like, okay, lose some money, close my business, whatever. I'm not going to die. You're going to be okay.
Right.
And it all goes back to you're not living forever. Just do what you want to do now. That's how I try to live most of the time, Just enjoy something every day. Do what you want to do. And yeah, I've got no complaints.
I think that's good advice. Make the world a little less miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you want to do more often.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you hate your job or something, I'm not telling you to quit, but make a plan.
Yeah. Find an exit route.
Yeah. Figure out a way if you don't like something, figure out a way to make it better.
Yeah. Wise words. Wise words, Tony. I appreciate it, Craig.
Yeah. We're good.
Yeah. It's a good combo. I hope to keep us posted on the big things you got coming. And
You'll know it when it happens. You won't miss it, trust me.
cool.
It's pretty big, though. It'll be good. I'm excited. It'll be my biggest project so far.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
it'll be big.
It's big words.
You can put one of your governor signs out at our property.
Yeah.
Rogue, if you
Yeah.
want.
I think that's what it is. You could, yeah. I'll take a Nolletti for governor sign.
Boom.
My thing is with I would.
Maybe Jess should run.
She would probably do fine. I don't know who would watch the kids though.
I'm sure
They're getting older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
not
here's
until
my
next
fear.
year. So.
Here's what I wonder what happens in the government though. Like everybody, you see these, and I think a lot of the politicians mean well, but what the heck happens?
Nothing.
Like what happens with them? Like they end up not doing what they should be doing, right? And I'm like, I don't want that to be me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. There's a difference. I don't know. There's a difference. I try not to. I'm a Christian. Okay. So I believe this life is not forever, obviously. And so I try. It's hard because I'm right in the mix of it, I feel, with the business, but I try not to get too wrapped up in the government.
Right.
Makes it a little easier to handle because if all your faith is in just this world and just this government, you will go nuts. It'll be rough. And so I think if nothing else, my faith has gotten stronger last year for sure. just because when things are going good, it's easy to just, yep, everything's cool, government's fine, blah, blah, blah. So it definitely kind of woke me up to that a little bit. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's been an awakening for a lot of people, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah.
But take the good out of it, right?
Yeah.
Did you have something?
No, I was just going to say that it's the same thing when you said what happens to the government officials when they get up there, or, that job, what happens to them. I think the same thing happens with teachers. I know teachers who have left and found different jobs because they're put in the same box that students are put in, and they thought that they could make a difference, but they can't because they're not allowed, right? They have to go and get this education, but anyone could teach the kids what they have to teach them. Yeah. They have such strict rules and guidelines to follow that it's, they have these great intentions, and then they get there and they don't get to lay it out how they'd like to.
So you know what that means? Is you homeschool your kids and you start a gym.
Yeah.
There you go. Problem solved.
there needs to be way more gyms.
Yeah,
there needs to be lots more gyms.
There needs to be a lot more people in the gyms.
Yeah, because there's only a small population that even goes to a gym.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think, and I don't know. Maybe that's why the 24-hour gym has done so well. Is I think maybe people realize, wait, maybe there is something to being healthy. Like maybe there is something to that. Take some responsibility. Lose a little weight, get your lungs and heart working again, Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, be taking more risks in the future and living like I'm not going to live forever. So, within reason though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot alive. That's for sure.
No.
I appreciate it, Craig.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was
a
good conversation.
Yeah.
It's always good to talk. Anytime I get to talk about business, it helps me understand it a little better. So I always enjoy that part of it. So, yeah.
Cool. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
All right. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
man. Thank you for hanging out with us on this episode.
Appreciated as always. And if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or guest suggestions, leave them in the comments after you subscribe to the channel, or visit chroniccuriosity.com to get in contact with us.
And the store, which you can pick yourself up some fantastically curious merchandise.
Until next time. That's it.